The United States has always been a global superpower when it comes to military power, with a large defense budget and state-of-the-art weaponry available. In recent years, there has been much speculation and debate about what kind of fighter the United States should invest in to maintain its supremacy in the skies. With several options available, the decision is not an easy one. However, what if the United States buys 5 specific fighter jets capable of shaping the future of air combat? Will it strengthen their position as a military power or open up new challenges? The answers to these questions are unknown, but one thing is for sure. This decision will have important implications for the future of the United States Armed Forces and its allies. As for every F-35 or F-22 Raptor Joint Strike Fighter entering service, there's a long list of melee rival fighters that don't quite pass for this reason. Or other reason. Sometimes these fighters are not chosen because the jet that Uncle Sam chose in the end was simply a better competitor. But that is not always how these decisions are made. Like all military forces, the U.S. military must strike a balance between strength and capability. In other words, it doesn't matter if you have 300 of the most advanced fighters on the planet if you need 500 fighters to complete your mission, so Department of Defense officials have to weigh the costs. Charge for the advanced capabilities of the fighter with capacity of the fighters they need to carry out the mission. In this example, that might mean just buying those 100 advanced fighters along with 400 cheaper, less capable platforms that can meet the mission requirements at hand. In fact, this particular example reflects the plea that the Air Force made recently to buy new F-15EXs, even though it lacks stealth. In a perfect world, the Air Force would only use stealth fighters, but when weighed against capabilities, stealth aircraft are too limited to purchase and operate to convert into a force-only museum figure. Other times, fighter jet programs don't exist because the Department of Defense doesn't trust the contractor to deliver on what they promise, or because the capabilities the aircraft provide isn't an urgent national need. Joined at that time. For whatever reason, these fighters never entered production, but if they did, each would offer some amazing and often unique capabilities. 5. F-16XL. F-16 is better. For over 40 years, the F-16 Fighting Falcon has served as the backbone of the U.S. Air Force's fighter squadron, but a year before the F-16 first entered service, the team developed a better F-16. In the F-16XL. In fact, this fighter is capable of reaching the point where it is nothing more than a technological showpiece, becoming a legitimate competitor for the venerable F-15E vehicle in the fighter program. First progress of the Air Force. In the end, it will lose to the F-15E based on production costs and system redundancy, but many still argue that the F-16XL is actually the better platform. While that assertion is debatable, there is little debate as to whether the F-16XL could be one of the most actionable fourth-generation fighters on the planet. You can read our full features of the development of the F-16XL. 4. A12 Avenger II. America's first practical stealth fighter. On January 13, 1988, a joint team from McDonnell Douglas and General Dynamics was awarded a development contract to become the A12 Avenger II, not to be confused with the A12 published by Lockheed in the 1960s. Is looking to equip the State Route 71 Brotherhood with a non-combat weapon system. Once completed, the Navy A12 will be a flying wing design reminiscent of Northrop Grumman's B-2 Spirit or the upcoming B-21 Raider, albeit much smaller. Although the A12 Avenger II uses a flying wing design, its overall shape differs from the triangular B-2 Spirit being developed for the Air Force. The A12's sharp triangular shape eventually earned it the nickname Flying Dorito. For a while, it looked like the A12 Avenger II program was going without a hitch, but then, seemingly without warning, it was the Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney canceled in January 2016. 1991. You can read our full feature on the development of the A12 Avenger. 3. YF-12. The largest, fastest fighter in history. The State Route 71 Blackbird may be one of the most iconic airframes of the Cold War, but this incredibly fast design wasn't always meant to serve as a pair of high-flying eyes. In fact, a variant of the SR-71's predecessor, the faster and higher-flying A-12, actually had a fighter interceptor brother in the form of the YF-12, and eventually the F-12B. The biggest changes seen by the YF-12 when compared to its A-12 sibling were in the front of the plane, where a second rudder was added for an assigned dynamics officer. Task of managing the interceptor's air-to-air arsenal. The aero section was also modified to accommodate the Hughes and ASG-18 force control radar controller developed for use in the XF-108 program and continues to operate. But the most important change between the A-12 and YF-12 is in the space that was originally designed to house powerful cameras, film, and other reconnaissance gear. One of the compartments has been converted into an in-house force control unit, while the other has been modified to accommodate an internal payload including 3 unmatched Hughes AIM-47 Falcon rockets. You can read our full features of the YF-12's development. 2. ASF-14 Super Tomcat for the 21st century. While the F-14D took the title Super Tomcat, the F-14 modernization effort began with the ST-21 designation, appropriately enough to stand for Super Tomcat for the 21st century, and make no mistake. And beyond. That's exactly what it can achieve, with improved avionics, more power, extended range, and more capabilities across the board. But while both the ST-21 and AST-21 were advertised as remanufacturing programs for existing Tomcats along with newly built aircraft, Grumman's introduction to the Navy ultimately included a brand new Tomcat built. Named ASF-14. The ASF-14 will look like its F-14 predecessor, but the similarities are mostly profound. The ASF-14, with around 60,000 pounds of thrust and a better weight-based thrust ratio than the F-14D, thrust vectoring control, large internal fuel storage, large payload capacity, and receiving capacity, the incredible know-it-all provided by the powerful onboard radar and countless sensor groups, be it a fourth-generation fighter jet with little, or maybe not, equals till date. You can read our full features of the ASF-14 proposal. 1. YF-23 Raptor meets its rival. In a decade of oblivion since it first entered service, the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor has become a no-song air superiority fighter, but that hasn't always been the case. For a brief period in the 1990s, the YF-22 led to the F-22 in service possibly meeting a competitor, Northrop's YF-23. 2 YF-23 prototypes were eventually created. The first, dubbed the Black Widow II by project participants, was all black and was powered by a pair of Pratt & Whitney engines that allowed the jet to superspeed at Mach 1.43 in rotation. First test in 1990. The second YF-23, painted gray and named the Gray Ghost, switched to the General Electric yttrium fluoride engine, offering improved supercruise, reaching Mach 1.6 speeds. In the trial, only surpassed the YF-22's Mach 1.58. In the end, while the YF-23 was roughly comparable to the F-22 in terms of messiness, Lockheed won the perception war by showing off the aircraft's combat capabilities in their own way. Lockheed's pilot tests were able to demonstrate the aircraft's ability to take advantage of the high angle of attack, fire missiles, and perform more than 9 G worth of airframe thrust impacts. While the YF-23 was able to fulfill similar conditions, Northrop did not participate in the demonstration. Many argue that it was this sales-critical skill, rather than the rigorous background ability, that helped the YF-22 stand out in the minds of defense officials. You can read our full features of the YF-23 development.